Lucha Dragons, Eggins, or even the primetime players, but I don't think that's going to happen yet. But on the unpredictable, like I didn't see that coming, whoa, who would have thought this team would have done it? I would go with the Ascension. I would. So that's how I look at the tag team title match. The third match I look at is being the Divas Championship match. And I know a lot of people piss on the Divas division, and you know everybody has a right to do this, but this is a network exclusive event. So you could get away with a lot more. I seem to have noticed, this is what I've seemed to notice, that any time the Divas, whether it's the main roster or NXT, when they perform on a network exclusive show, let's say Main Event or even Superstars, they go and they have the matches that people will talk about. And that is not a lie. So I think with this being a network exclusive event, that we might see a more decent Divas match. Now I know some people might say, well, you're just hoping for the impossible. Well, I might be hoping for the impossible, but you know what? I definitely see this being probably being the better Divas match they've had in a long time, because you have, you know, two talented in-ring performers in Paige and Naomi, and you have one that, as the champion, who's vastly improved, you know, despite how you feel about her, has vastly improved in some of her in-ring work in Nikki. So you take those styles together, and with the fact, like I say, it's a network exclusive event, pretty much saying, hey, you could do just about anything. I think this might be one of the better Diva matches we've seen in a long while. To me, this is the opportunity for these three Divas to show the Divas on NXT, hey, we could have just as good a match as you guys can. So that's what I think is going to happen there. Now, first of all, I forgot to show this when I was talking about the tag title match, so there it is. But like I said, as far as the match goes, like I said, I think it's going to be one of the better Diva matches in a while. And like I said, this could be their match to make the statement that we could be just as good as the NXT Divas. But as far as the outcome goes, you know, I know a lot of people want Nikki to lose the belt. I just don't see it happening here. I really don't. Now, unless they do have her lose the belt, that's great. That's their decision. But who does she lose it to? My thought is you got to go with Naomi. You go with Naomi, give her first title reign, have her be the champion that has to depend maybe on Tamina to help her out. And then that way you could build towards her and Paige at SummerSlam, down the line, you know, at SummerSlam, and that would be the big blow-off they need to end the feud, and you could have Paige regain the belt at SummerSlam. I'm just saying. So, booking-wise, I have to go. I think the best decision they got here is Naomi, which allows them to build towards her and Paige at SummerSlam. But I've got a feeling it's going to be a toss-up between Naomi getting it and Nikki retaining. So, but hopefully they go with Naomi. That's just my opinion. So, with that said, then we get to the Owens-Cena match. Now, for anybody, even Jeff, for you guys that think that Owens and Cena are for this, you're wrong. Because why would they put Owens and Cena, champion versus champion, for the U.S. title, when Owens, on the two occasions he has fought Cena, he has basically, not fought Cena, but attacked Cena. Why on those two occasions would he stomp the U.S. title? Why would he put his foot and stomp on the U.S. title, showing no respect to it? Why would they do that? Well, one, they want to establish the fact that Owens, character-wise, doesn't care about anything or anyone, doesn't have no respect for anything. But I also think they're trying to, through Owens, storyline-wise, establish that the NXT title means more than this. So, as far as the champion versus champion non-title match between the two, I think it's going to be physical. It's going to be good. But the decision's going to come, who do you put over? Now, a lot of people are saying you got to do Owens. It's a big stage, big opportunity. Owens has got to go over. And that might be the case. And that is true. He has to go over. Because you want to establish him as being someone that within a week, or within less than 2 weeks, has taken out Sami Zayn and has beaten the face that runs the place in John Cena. So the question is, will they go with Owens? Logically, you would think so. But I think, if anything, you're going to look at something that might end in a DQ or a countout, maybe a double DQ. But then again, there's that possibility of something happening that cost Owens the match and gives him his first loss in WWE. And that someone could be an appearance by Samoa Joe. And here's how it would work out. You could have Owens look like he's about to win, and all of a sudden Joe's music hits. And in this way, in a sense, not only do you establish Joe as being a force in NXT, but you establish Joe as being a force, in the near future on the main roster. So you're basically getting Joe out there for so basically establishing Joe in the WWE, not just for NXT, but to establish the fact that he's going to be a future force in the main roster as well. So the way I look at this match, it's a toss-up. Yes, the right decision would be to go with Owens, but I think it's a toss-up, and it's either depending on whether or not they have Joe make an appearance or not. We'll just have to wait and see. And if that does happen, if Joe does make an appearance, I hope the next night, if they have Owens show up there to talk about why he lost, that at least Owens will acknowledge maybe the outside the ring friendship that Joe and John Cena have had over the years. Or maybe Cena will. I don't know. But all I could say is this. You want to establish Samoa Joe as a force in NXT, as well as a force in the future as well as a force to be reckoned with in the future on the main roster. Then you got to have Joe maybe make an appearance here, and that's how you cost Owens his match with Cena. It's not a clean, in a sense, it's not really a clean defeat, but it kind of establishes that Owens may be storyline-wise afraid of Joe, because I think you kind of saw that at Unstoppable. But again, this match, this champion versus champion match, is a toss-up, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Now, as far as the Intercontinental Championship match, Elimination Chamber match goes. As far as this match goes, right now it's currently scheduled, you'd have Rusev, Ziggler, Barrett, R-Truth, Sheamus, and Ryback. Now, with Rusev injuring himself on SmackDown, which you'll see tonight, injuring his foot, and being taken off the live events this weekend, or at least for the next few days, a lot of people are wondering if Rusev's going to be there. I would assume that they're either going to have Rusev in there, or, as sources have been reporting, they might have Bray Wyatt take his place. If that's the case, that would be a huge surprise. Now, if Rusev is still there, I think because of his injury, I wouldn't expect him to win the Intercontinental Championship. I don't think he's going to win. There is speculation and reports that Sheamus is going to be the one that gets this, but we'll have to wait and see. This, to me, as far as chamber matches go, it'll be a good match, but it won't have that show-stealing magic that I believe the tag team title chamber match will have. Because not many of the guys here, maybe with the exception of R-Truth and Ziggler, really do that many high-flying maneuvers. Most of them are ground and pound. But I do expect a very physical matchup. I do. I do expect a very physical Elimination Chamber match, one that's at least going to show how important this is. But the ending, that's kind of tossed in the air. It's up in the air. It's like, you want Ziggler to win because you're a hardcore fan. You want Ziggler to get it. On the other hand, you wouldn't mind if R-Truth got it because at least they're giving R-Truth an opportunity with the ball to run with it. So that's a possibility. Rusev, I don't really think needs it. Unless you want to establish that he could be a champion and a dominant force without anybody behind him. So I don't really think he needs it. Now, as far as Bray Wyatt goes, I don't think he needs it if he ends up being in there as a replacement for Rusev. I don't think he needs it. Sheamus, I think he's been Intercontinental Champion before. I'm not really sure, so I don't know if he, if you want to prove his dominance, then fine. But I don't know. You see, this is all up in the air, folks. It really is. It's really an up in the air kind of deal because, you got a lot of guys who have held this belt except for three, 2 or 3. That's Ryback, Rusev, and maybe Rusev's replacement Wyatt. So if I'm WWE, I would go with Ryback. I think it's the most logical choice. You're trying to rejuvenate, reinvigorate this man's career, trying to, make up for the fact that you pulled away from pushing him as the monster babyface, whatever he was. So I definitely think a Ryback reign as Intercontinental Champion is long overdue. And this way you can establish him as not just an upper mid-card talent, but maybe even a kind of an upper mid-card talent, but a possible main eventer as well, and a possible threat for Seth Rollins in the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So I definitely think giving Ryback this is going to help him out a lot. So, but like I said, I don't think this is going to be the show stealer. The tag title match is going to be, but I do expect a pretty rough, physical chamber match. I really do. Now, as far as the main event goes, unless WWE wants to do whatever they can to get more subscribers and viewers during the summer to the network, then yeah, you got to do a title change. But I don't think they're going to do a title change. I don't think they're going to do a title change on a network exclusive. I don't really think so. If they do, that will be a surprise, but I don't really see that happening. What I do see happening, though, is I do see a very physical, very physical, crowd-pleasing WWE Championship match between Ambrose and Rollins. Will it be a show stealer? Maybe, maybe not. I can't really say. They've had some good matches in the past, but like I said, with this, I can't really say whether or not it's going to be a show stealer. But I would expect a very good matchup between the two, and maybe expect some kind of spot during the match that, courtesy of Ambrose or even Rollins. Expect something that's going to probably get people going like, whoa, holy blank kind of deal, maybe. Maybe. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I would expect it. So, as far as the decision goes, booking wise, I think you got to go with Rollins too. You got to keep the belt on him as long as you have to. But if they're desperate to get viewers, if they're desperate to say, hey, don't tune into Destination America this week because look what we're doing. If they're desperate enough to get the viewers on the network, get the people to view Raw and everything, kind of get that audience back before that audience goes to Destination America to see ROH and TNA, then I would expect WWE to probably book it for Ambrose to win, because that would get people talking, it'd get them tuning in, it'd get them subscribing to the network. But again, that's if they're desperate, if they are desperate for that. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to go with Rollins. So, but I would expect something to get their attention at the end though, and that would be Rollins after he wins. I would be surprised because it helps promote the podcast the next night with Austin and Heyman. I would expect that after the match, you hear Lesnar's music hit, and you don't see Lesnar, but you see Rollins with this panic look on his face, like, oh shit, where is he? Is he here? Kind of like never knowing when he's going to show up. And then you follow through on that the following night, maybe with Heyman, before his podcast, come out and say, hey, you never know. So that to me would be, that to me at least would get people talking and maybe even tuned into the network. But that's all I'm going to say for my predictions and preview of Elimination Chamber this Sunday, which is a network exclusive, by the way, on WWE Network, not a pay-per-view, which like I said, I'm assuming it's going to be about 2.5 hours maybe at most. So I definitely see that happening as far as the length goes. But again, these are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down below. Sorry this was in multiple parts, but take your time in watching. I'll talk to y'all later.